Welcome back to Let's Talk to Animals, the podcast all species can enjoy together. My name is Shannon Cutts. I am an animal sensitive and intuitive, a Reiki master practitioner, and an animal communication teacher with animallovelanguages.com. And for our purposes here today, I am also your friendly neighborhood hostess and guide through the wild, wise, and wonderful world of interspecies communication. Call me crazy, but I truly believe that animal communication has the power to save, heal, and restore our planet for all species to enjoy and share. When we learn to communicate with one another, we begin to realize we are so much more alike than different. We care about each other. We become friends. On this podcast, we talk about what the animals have to say and share, and why our pets truly are our partners, empathic friends, and teachers. I am so glad you have joined us here for this fresh new episode of Let's Talk to Animals. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Let's Talk to Animals, the podcast all species can enjoy together. I am your hostess, Shannon, and on the docket today, we are talking through some questions that I've been fielding recently in my one-to-one pet sessions specific to pet reincarnation. So this is a deep topic. It's an emotional topic. It's a topic that can bring up a lot in us. It can bring up a lot in others. And sometimes when we embark on, well, I'm going to say almost always when we embark on the pet reincarnation learning curve, that learning journey, we are going to encounter our own limiting beliefs, the limiting beliefs of others, the questions that our 3D rational, logical, analytical left brain mind has, because that left brain hemisphere can't access the psyche, the soul, our intuition, the subconscious, and it is trying to process what we want, what our heart and our soul longs for through a lens that can only do two things: believe in something or disbelieve in it, ask questions and seek answers. And so it can bring up a lot of turmoil in our lives when we set out to have the joyful reunion of pet reincarnation. So going into today's episode, I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. In fact, I just got off an hour-long Zoom call with one of my longtime pet parent clients, and her sole purpose for scheduling the session was because she had so many questions about pet reincarnation, about how it can work, and about some of her own limiting beliefs and preconceived ideas about what is right, what is ethical, what is possible, what is okay, and even what is her current pet going to think about her learning about pet reincarnation when he's still with her in his body. So these are all the kinds of things that can come up when we embark on our learning journey towards a joyful reunion of pet reincarnation. And I wanted to bring this to you because I've been seeing an uptick in the number of pet reincarnation session requests this year. We've had a real shift in the energy of the planet. We've had a real evolution in what is possible for us as a species. It may not be what all of us want or are looking for or even realize is possible, but the truth is that it's a whole new ballgame this year. The planets are shifting, the energy is shifting, there's a deeper opening that has become available to us. And what's occurring is that more than ever before, when our pets are passing, and I've also noticed that more soul pets are passing. And what I mean by soul pets is that pet for whom we feel such a deep connection that we feel like, I'm not sure how I'm going to make it without you. I'm not sure how I'm going to live without you. I'm not sure who I'm going to be without you. I have loved all of my animals all of my life, and I have grieved every single one of them. But with a particular animal in your life, you may feel like my leg is missing, my arm is missing, a part of my heart is missing when you're not in your body next to me. And so that's what I mean by soul pet. It doesn't mean that all of our pets aren't deeply meaningful, that we don't love them with our whole hearts, but these are teachers. Our soul pets are teachers. They are wise teachers and mentors in our lives. And there's always that aspect of the wise teacher mentor in our soul agreement together, because part of their reason for being in our life is to encourage us, invite us to wake up to the reality of what's really going on here, which is so much more than two bodies sharing time and space together. That's what it looks like from the outside looking in, from the left brain mind perspective, from the inside feeling out, from the right brain, subconscious, and soul level perspective. There's a lot more here, folks. And that's what we're exploring today. And what tends to come up along the way as we're walking through this pet reincarnation learning curve is we do have a lot of questions. And as we have that very natural desire and urge to share our experiences with other humans, we may encounter a lot of different energies, some of which are welcoming, curious, interested, supportive, some of which are disbelieving, judging, doubting, fearful, or even angry. And so in a way, we have to be prepared for that. We have to know that going in, that we can only control our side of the street. When I teach animal communication, I teach via the 5 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz's Toltec 5 agreements framework and structure, which is number 1, be impeccable with your word. So if you're curious, if you're open to learning about pet reincarnation, if your heart is calling you in that direction, it's important to honor that. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. And that agreement asks us to step away from owning other people's reactions, saying, you do you and I'll do me. And it's okay if you don't believe in pet reincarnation. It's okay if you don't feel like you can support me in my desire to learn and grow in this area of my life. I don't take it personally because you're on your path and I'm on my path. You can't prevent others from taking your path personally. So that's part of not taking things personally too. Number 3, the third agreement is don't make assumptions. And that's the agreement we're going to be talking about today. So there are a lot of assumptions that our left brain mind will make when we go into the pet reincarnation learning journey. And these can especially crop up in 2 areas. One, when we're having what I call an anticipatory pet reincarnation conversation, when our current soul pet is still in their body, as was the case with my conversation with my client this morning. And there can also be the assumption that we need to rescue an animal versus wanting our specific soul pet back in a new body, because there are so many animals in the shelters who need a good home. And we're going to talk about that as well. And then the 4th agreement is always do your best. And your best involves staying true to yourself, staying true to your heart, staying true to what feels better than everything else, which is the efforts of your intuition to guide you through clear empathy, clear feeling, and walking your path with integrity. And then there's the 5th agreement. And we're also going to be talking about the 5th agreement today, which is be skeptical, but learn to listen. So I love a good skeptic. I have no problem with somebody who is genuinely skeptical because they have an open mind that is curious, that is engaged, that is interesting, that is seeking for what feels right and true for them. Where I run into issues are either on one extreme, those who've drunk the Kool-Aid and then they dove in and now they're swimming around in it. And anything I say to them, they will take as fact, which if you've ever worked with me one-to-one or in my student groups or in my practice circle, you know, I tell you, you decide your own truth. Don't take anything that I tell you at face value as quote unquote, the truth. This is my perspective, my lived experience, my learnings from all the conversations that I have had with the animals. You go and do your own field research and decide what feels true for you. Now, the other extreme is the disbeliever. the active disbeliever, the one who wants to come in and throw water on the fire of your enthusiasm. So being skeptical but learning to listen doesn't mean jumping towards one extreme or the other. It means showing up openly and honestly without attachment, without preconceived notions as best we are able to just see what's here for you, see what there is for you to learn today that feels right and true for you. So that is the spirit within which we are jumping into today's episode. And I want to start with that real hot button question, which is it selfish of me to want my specific pet back in a new body when there are so many shelters that are overflowing with pets who need a good home? This is the question that just tugs at our everlasting heartstrings and gets re-triggered every time we go on social media or we get an email from an organization about animals that need rescuing or horrific animal condition. And we get pulled into somebody else's space, into their agenda, and into their supposed judgments about what feels right and true for our heart. So I just recorded an episode about the pet hero's journey, which talked all about traumatized, anxious, sensitive pets, pets who are going through something in life, pets who appear to our eyes as a victim of their life, a victim of their circumstances, a victim of other people, and how it's so vital to give the animals their personal power back, to give them back the leading role in their own story. So it is so easy for us as humans, as the apex predators of our era, to look at pets in shelters or on the streets or anywhere where there are sub-level conditions and what we feel are unacceptable circumstances. It's so easy for us to look at them and just see a poor, limp, helpless victim. Now, this comes straight from my conversations with the Pet Collective, asking about this perspective. And the pets are reminding me that they are still the hero of their own story. They are still in charge of their own trajectory. They did not come here to be helpless doormats for humans. They are empaths. And as empaths, they know the risks. They knew the risks coming in, just like all the risks of our life right now as it's unfolding. That was all disclosed to us before we made the choice to come here into these physical 3D bodies to have these incarnations. Now, at a logical, literal, analytical level, can we prove that? No. But does stepping into a place of personal power in our own life, no matter how hard it may be at this moment, feel better than everything else? Yes. So we can take that as its own kind of energetic proof that this story just makes more sense than all the others. And the analogy that I like to share, this is actually the analogy I gave to my client this morning, is if you were in love with one being, with one person, let's say, and you really, really wanted to be with that person, and they wanted to be with you. But then somebody came to you and said, but look at these other 5 people over here. They don't have partners and they're so lonely. You should partner with one of them instead. How much sense does that make? The thing with our pets, especially our soul pets, our wise teacher, mentor pets, is we have a soul agreement with them. And it doesn't matter how good our intentions are and how wide open our hearts are. If we invite an animal into our family who is not meant to be there, that's a whole other conversation. And there are cases that I work with where we see an animal that's repeatedly not getting along with their sibling, not getting along with some human family members, not able to stay in the home. They're constantly escaping. They're escape artists. They're seeking any way out. Now, don't misconstrue that I'm saying that every pet who tries to escape doesn't want to be in your home or isn't meant to be in your family. That is not what I'm saying. I am saying when our action and the energetics behind it and the reason for it stems from a place of I should, I should just go and rescue this pet because they need a good home versus my heart is singing for this pet and I won't feel complete until they join my family. Do you see how those are two completely different pots of energy? And the energy behind the action we take can almost predict how it plays out and how well it goes for both of us. So mistaking the well-meant intention to do something about the shelter pet situation in this world that we humans have created for, I need to say no to my soul pet who wants to reincarnate to me so I can adopt this other animal because that's what others are telling me. That's what my left brain mind is telling me to do. That's what makes logical sense based on the numbers and the overpopulation, et cetera, et cetera. That's a whole different energetic set point for making a decision. And the reality is, as much as we don't like to acknowledge it because it diminishes our ego, it diminishes our sense of self-importance and our potential impact that we can have in the world in areas where we care about, we have to give those shelter pets their personal power back. We're not meant to rescue all of them. We may not even be meant to rescue one of them, but we may be meant to help in other ways. See, this is what our left brain mind frequently factors out in its very linear approach to problem solving. And it will say, well, the best way is to adopt a pet from a shelter because that pet needs a home. We never ask the question, like that old game when you add in bed on the end of every sentence, we never ask the question, is that new home with you? So we're saying that pet needs a home. That is a fact. Does that pet need a home with you? That's a question. That's an energetic question. That's a conversational question. And especially if you're working from a place of your soul pet is transitioning or they have transitioned to spirit and they've let you know they want to come back to you and they are willing to come back to you, then having a conversation about adopting somebody else throws a whole different spin on that conversation, especially when there are so many other things that we can do to support the relief of the overrun shelters and the overabundance of relinquished animals. We could sit on the board, we could volunteer, we could donate money, we could become an advocate, we could change our energy. There's a new one for you. We could change our energy around how we see the animals that are in the shelters. And we could do a lot from that place to empower them to see themselves as heroes in their own stories. So it just feels so much better. For instance, have you ever been going through a hard time and you've chosen to share a part of your story or your struggles with somebody who cares about you? And they have responded with, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for you. I'm so sorry that's happening to you. That's got to really be tough. I wish there was some way I could help you out of that situation. Feels kind of disempowering, doesn't it? It's kind of dim, kind of hopeless even. Like, yeah, it does. You're right. It really does suck. Versus somebody who says to you, well, I don't really know how you're going to get out of this situation that you're in right now. I would have no way of knowing what that path forward is actually going to look like. But I'll tell you something. I know you. And I know something about you, which is that you are strong, you are smart, you are creative, you are brave. You've gone through hard things before and you've always come out shining. And I know that you will find your way through this. And I am here to cheer you on every step of the way. Do you see how that energy is very different? And when we're talking about animal communication, it's all about energy. There literally is nothing else. The energy is what brings all of this matter, including the 3D bodies of the pets we love, into being in the first place. So if we're not working at the level of the energy, we're missing most of the opportunity. So just recognizing you can feel that compassion, you can feel that and honor that desire to help the shelter animals. But does that mean you need to say no to your reincarnated pet and go and adopt an animal that's in immediate need at the shelter? On an energetic level, that's a hard no. Not unless your soul is really calling you in that area, or your pet who's reincarnating has specifically told you that they're coming back as a rescue through a shelter, and you feel called, you feel pulled to that shelter. I've been working with a cat dad who is in the process of welcoming his soul cat back. And I gave him the name of a local rescue because he happens to live in the same city that I do. And he reached out to them, but he also wrote me an email and said, I'm really pulled to this other charity. And you know what I said? Well, then go there. That's your intuition talking. And that's where he found his reincarnated pet. So we can honor our heart's desire to help without getting stuck in how that help needs to be offered. And this leads me to the second big trigger question that a lot of my pet parent clients encounter when they're welcoming their reincarnating pet back. So if this applies to you, pay close attention here. They're welcoming their reincarnated pet back, and the pet has indicated that they're coming through a breeder situation rather than a rescue situation. And I was just talking with a pet parent about this very thing, where some so-called friends in her life were saying, how could you go to a breeder to get your reincarnated pet when there are so many animals in the shelter that need a good home? And this is a pretty common thing that we encounter, the judgments of others who are sitting on the sidelines of our lives. They're not in the arena with us, as Brene Brown has written about in her book, Daring Greatly. They are not experiencing what we're experiencing. They're not having the conversations that we're having. They're not feeling the energy that we're feeling. And yet they seem to have absolutely no trouble informing us of where they feel we've missed the mark in our own life. And here, this is unfortunately a case of human ego, where some well-intentioned, well-meant rescuers, people who rescue pets, people who are active in the rescue pet movement, and often people who are on the front lines and are seeing some of the horrific abuses and the mistreatment that's going on, they get stuck into a very sad, very angry set point and a limited worldview where all of the animals that they're seeing are victims and they are the great savior. And they then cast us in the role of the great savior as well. And then they assign expectations to us that, again, have nothing to do with soul agreements. They have nothing to do with what feels right or true. They have nothing to do with what's in that animal's actual best interest, because they have taken over. They have taken all of the personal power away from these shelter animals. And if it was up to them, they would just go door to door and give each one of us a pet until all of the shelters were empty. It wouldn't matter if the pets got along with our other pets. It wouldn't matter if the pets were even allowed in the building where we live. It wouldn't matter if we were in an age or stage of life where we could appropriately care for that pet. They have just decided that this is the way that we need to end this crisis. And if you and I head down a different path, what that means to them, the meaning they've assigned to it, is you're not doing your part. And we know better than you what your part is. That's the real kicker. So it manifests as empathy, which literally translates to mean to suffer with or to feel as if, in the form of compassion, which is taking passionate action on behalf of, but it's not recognizing the uniqueness and the unique story and the unique journey of each soul who's involved in that compassionate action. And if we don't recognize that, we might as well all be cut from a cookie cutter. There's no reason for us to even all be here. One of us would be plenty. There's no diversity, there's no variety, there's no individual learning curve, there are no lessons and opportunities, there are no different roles to play. And this is a very, unfortunately, egocentric, anthropomorphic way of treating animals. I'm not judging these people outside of what is appropriate to talk about how we receive these kinds of communications from other people and how we can process them without falling into that trap with them. There's a lot of compassion there. There's a lot of empathy there. I personally, because I do energetic work all day long, I don't follow the animal rescues on social media, and I don't receive the newsletters, even if it's an organization that I donate to. I don't receive those newsletters where they're sharing the horrific pet stories, because if I'm opening up my email to prepare to talk with your pets, and that is the first thing I see, I'm going to have to do a lot of energetic maintenance work before I can prepare to connect with your pet and have the conversation that they really want and need to have with you through me. So safeguarding your energy is key. This is why for my pet reincarnation clients, I always advise them to guard your heart. Tell only those whom you already have an assurance that they are open, that they are curious, that they are interested, that they see the real, true you underneath the grief, underneath the loss, underneath the struggle. Sometimes this isn't even our partners, because typically our closest partners and our family members and our best friends, they just want us to feel better as fast as possible. And if plopping a new pet into our lap is a way that they think is going to achieve that goal, well, more power to them. They'll do it. And then we have to clean up the mess. So it's very, very important to recognize the energy with which these well-meant beings, these humans, come at us with, well, how dare you work with a breeder? I can't believe you would do that. You know what the shelter situation is like. And the only appropriate response is yes. And I also know when my intuition is telling me that a certain decision is right. And that leads us into the next frequently asked question about breeders, because ethical breeders are doing their part. I realize this is a very sensitive subject, but here's a fun fact for you. All of my animals have come through some type of breeder situation. There are a variety of reasons for that. And every single breeder that our family has worked with has checked every box for ethics, for transparency, for health testing, for honesty. And in some cases, especially for myself, since I also have what we call so-called exotic, non-cat, dog, or horse animals in my family, there are a lot of conservation concerns around animal trafficking. There are even some rescue charities, so-called charities, that are thinly disguised exotic pet mills. Like I get a relinquished exotic animal, and then I turn around and I sell it for a few $100s. That's not a charity. So we have to take a look at the role of the ethical breeder. And if your reincarnated pet is telling you that they want to come back through a breeder situation versus a rescue situation, there can be any number of reasons for that. And they don't all always match up. And there are many more reasons than what I'm about to outline for you here, and reasons I'm still learning about every single day. One reason can be they want to come back very young. Two, they want to come back within the same soul family lineage. And this especially is the case where you have gotten a previous pet, or you got them in their last body through the same breeder. Sometimes I have pets and spirits say, do you still have a way to contact my breeder from the last incarnation? Because they want to come back through the same bloodline, because it works well for the temperament and personality that they want to exhibit in their new incarnation. Sometimes it's because in the last incarnation, the pet was rescued and they suffered, or they came from a backyard breeder and they had a lot of health challenges. They had a lot of issues that needed to be worked out. And the intention for this incarnation is to come back healthy, to come back with a clean bill of health as best we can orchestrate. And an ethical breeder is always going to follow the latest recommendations for genetically testable health issues and be willing, even eager, to provide test results from all of their breeding pairs to show that they've passed with flying colors. So we have to recognize the ethical breeder in the mix as a human who is following their passion. They are following their heart's call. They are following their desire. And when done well, these animals become terrific pets that change families and change lives. They become service animals. They become emotional support animals. They become therapy animals. These are amazing beings. And the analogy here to consider, if you're still kind of at gridlocks with this particular question, is it okay that my pet wants to come back through a breeder when I have such a strong heart for rescue work? Remember, there's many, many ways to participate in rescue work. And also take a look at, let's say you wanted to conceive your own child. You wanted to have a family and you wanted to have biological children. And you wanted to give them the best start in life. All of the health tests, all of the care, all of the best nourishment, all of the safest environment, all of the most enriching activities. And then somebody came to you, another human came to you and said, but there's all of these children in an orphanage in China, in Russia, in Mexico, here in the United States, which is where I'm recording this episode. Why are you so selfish to want your own child when there's all of these children that need adopting? You should do that instead. And then you have to wrestle with that. And there's the head logic and there's the heart's truth. It's no different when we're looking at adopting a new pet. What is your heart level intention? And if we're in conversation with your pet, and especially if they're reincarnating to you, what is their soul path and what is their desire? So following the path with integrity based on the energy and the feeling rather than the logic and the analysis and the judgment from other people and the opinions of others, or even our own opinions, is where magic can happen, where we will only see as we take each next right feeling step on the path why that was the next right feeling step. This is manifestation 101. We put ourselves into a set point of this is what I want my life to feel like. We feel that way now. And then we take each step and course correct based on whether we feel like we're getting warmer or colder, to use the analogy of a childhood game, to that ideal feeling set point. So this is working with energy and using energy as your inner co-pilot. Does it feel better or worse than I felt a second ago? Does it feel better or worse than the ultimate vision I have for reuniting with my soul pet? So it's like going to the eye doctor and getting the little lenses, for those of you who have prescriptions, back and forth. Is it clearer with A or B, with C or D, with A or C, with B or D? And we go through until we find the ideal prescription. So we're doing an inner version of this as we're walking, taking each step along our own hero's journey to the joyful reunion. So there's a lot of respect here when you follow your path with integrity, and precisely because it often does kick up opposition. Then we have to go deeper than either caving in to somebody else's strong opinions or talking ourselves out of our own strong impression. This is learning. This is that opposition that makes us stronger and braver and clearer and more joyful and more truly empathic and compassionate, because instead of just taking one knee-jerk reaction after another through life, we stop, we sense into, what am I feeling in this moment? What is my ideal feeling state? How far away am I from that? What is one thing I could do, one action I could take right now to get me a little closer to the feeling set point that feels truest for me? And then go do that. That's what one of my mentors calls slowing down to speed up. It is much harder to do than it sounds, but it really, really, really works. So the next question I want to talk about is, if I start talking about or learning about pet reincarnation while my pet, my current soul pet, the pet that I want to have reincarnate back to me, is still in their physical body, will that A, cause them to die faster, or B, assume that I don't want them anymore and that I've just kicked them to the curb and I want a new model? This is probably the number one fear and roadblock that we encounter, that we have to walk through when we're talking through a pet reincarnation journey, is, what is my pet thinking about my interest in reincarnation? And to this question, I often counter with the question, Well, who do you think it was that put the idea for pet reincarnation into your head in the first place? This is the question to end all questions. I will share with you that many of you who've been Let's Talk to Animals listeners for a while, you are familiar with the story of the miraculous, joyful reunion that I had with my soul bird of 24 years, Mr. Pearl. And he came back to me as Miss Petal. Well, I started worrying about him passing when he was 11. He lived to be 24. That's a long time that Mr. Pearl had to sit in my anxious, frenetic, nervous, clingy, codependent, neurotic energy. So often what happens is our pets, even while they're still in their bodies and knowing that their transition is up ahead, it's up ahead for all of us, none of us can escape it. They are seeking a way to help us manage our energy so that it feels better for both of you as you're walking through their golden years, their end of life stage, and their actual passing to spirit. And one thing that reliably feels better than just worrying that you're going to fall apart and never put yourself back together after they die is acknowledging that there's a next chapter to the story. So often when pet parents come to me for one-to-one sessions, and even when students sign up to learn animal communication, there is this repeated emphasis on a single pet who is their primary motivation. And again, even if you've loved animals all your life, even if you've cared for every animal and grieved every animal all your life, there's this one animal. And often I will hear stories like, I don't even know what prompted me to go on social media at 1 a.m. and Google pet reincarnation. I've never even thought about it before. And then your name popped up, and then I booked a session with you. Sometimes this is when the pet has transitioned to spirit already. Sometimes it's when they're still in their body, because there's that anticipatory pet grief. And that's why I often recommend anticipatory pet reincarnation communication sessions. Let's take that anticipatory grief and take a look at why you're feeling it so strongly. We all feel it. We all worry. That's a nervous system function. All of our nervous systems are wired to detect upcoming threats and put a risk management protocol in place to address them as quickly as possible. But sometimes what that looks like is marinating, literally stewing in anxiety and codependency and clinginess and fear for years, just like I did. And that can put our pets in a pretty uncomfortable situation. It's not pleasant to be around someone who is always looking at you going, is today the day? How are you feeling over there? Are you going to leave me today? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. Have you noticed that's all about me, 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 me? It really doesn't have a lot to do with the pet. So if we want to place our energy back into a container that's really valuable for our pet, then what we want to do is take a look at why these fears are coming up at such a deep level and where they're leading us. They're leading us. We only have emotion for one reason. Emotion is energy in motion, and it is motivating. When we feel fear, we act one way. When we feel love, we act a different way. When we feel anxious, we act one way. When we grieve, we act a different way. Feelings are highly motivating. They're extremely timely. So if some strong emotion is coming up in you, it is a messenger. It's like Siri yelling in your ear, telling you, hey, turn left at the fork. Pay attention to it. So far from you kicking your pet to the curb, if they're still in their body, wanting to replace them, far from that energy coming across that way, what I have experienced talking with the pets is that they're patting themselves on the back going, yeah, I finally got through to her. I finally got through to him. They're interested now. They're researching. I did my job. Maybe things are going to feel a little bit lighter around here now. Maybe it's going to be a little more fun for us. I'm not dead yet. Let's go have a few more adventures and then look forward to many more when I come back to you. And that's the other question that really comes up is, am I manifesting what I don't want by talking through what I do want? So in this case, what I don't want is my pet to die on me just because I'm talking about pet reincarnation. And what I do want is the continuation of the bond, the continuation of the heart and soul connection, the continuation of the relationship. And what the pets have shared with me again and again and again is, if the love is still there, the bond, the relationship is still there, body optional. This body is like a computer or a smartphone. At some point, the internal hardwired battery is going to run out. It is going to run out of juice and it will no longer be able to hold a charge. And if you've ever had a device do that and you've taken it to the store and you've had the repair person say, the only thing that we can do for you is to get you a new device, that's what happens when the body wears out. All of our bodies have a pre-built internal battery of some sorts, even though we're still sorting out exactly where it is and how it works and when it reaches its point of no return. But we all have one. And in most cases, our pets' bodies have batteries with a shorter shelf life than the batteries installed within us. And so we know it's coming. Our nervous system knows it's coming. Our soul knows it's coming. So why not talk about the elephant in the room and explore why there's this deep sense of, I don't feel like I can live without you. Maybe, here's a creative thought to play with. Maybe it's because you're not meant to. Your pet is trying to let you know we've been together before. We'll be together again. Don't you worry. We will always be together because this is the best way. It's best for both of us. You are your best self with me. I am my best self with you. Why wouldn't we be together in an energetic universe that is always seeking coherence, alignment, harmony, evolution? Since the Big Bang, we are still expanding. Our universe is still expanding. We are all always wired to seek expansion, and expansion happens through the heart. It happens through the emotion, the energy and motion of love. So if we're better together, there's no logical reason why we wouldn't come back together, except if we simply refuse to do it because we don't believe it. We allow others to judge us for it or talk us out of it. Our fear or our past or our culture or our upbringing seems to prevent it. We can put obstacles in our own path, and our pet is inviting us to remove them or to just not install them in the first place. So trying that on for size puts a whole different spin on, is my pet just offended that I'm talking about their reincarnation while they're still here? No, they're delighted. They're encouraged because it means you're going to lighten the F up at least a little bit. And maybe this last period in your life will be more fun than it might have been otherwise. I love what one of my mentors, Byron Katie, said to us during a retreat I took with her. She said, if somebody pushed me off a cliff, I would keep my eyes open the whole way down so I wouldn't miss a moment. Now that's living in the moment. And that is how our pets mostly live. If you have a pet who feels trapped in the past, you'll want to listen to my episodes on pet anxiety and pet trauma and pet high sensitivity. But the factory setting, the inbuilt setting is present moment awareness, present moment living. So if they can get us into a state where we are grounded in our heart, fully cognizant of the real nature of this longing to be together forever, actively investing in our own learning journey so that we can grow into manifesting what feels true on the energetic level at the 3D physical level as well, and empowered to install and maintain strong boundaries against those who have resistances to the path that feels right, well, we're going to be a lot more fun to hang out with. Our energy will feel lighter. And especially when our pets move into their end of life era, where their bodies are slowing down, their batteries are slowly draining, and they're not being recharged as effectively and efficiently. Well, we do them a great service by not adding that extra emotional heaviness to their empathic burden. They come into our lives to be our partners, empathic friends, and teachers. Wouldn't it be lovely if we would return the favor by showing them how open we are to learning from them about the deeper dimension and reality of our bond together? That frees up so much energy for them. It can actually extend their life. It can prolong their life. We have science to back this up, that chronic, sustained stress exposure, whether internal, external, or both, shortens the lifespan. It increases inflammation in the body. It degrades the lymphatic system's ability to detoxify us. It interferes with sleep and it consistently sabotages healing. So if we could get ourselves into a playful, expansive, curious, open, engaged, excited space about, I'm going to fully enjoy every moment with you now. And when you come back, we're going to enjoy every moment of that time too. Do you see do you feel, I should say, how much better that feels? And how if you were your pet and you were watching somebody, in fact, let's use this analogy. Have you ever supported a loved one through a really heavy, hard time in their life? And at first you felt so empathic, so compassionate, willing to just go the extra mile, do anything. But at some point you noticed that they kind of fell into what we might politely call a negativity trap, victim mode, disempowered, even giving their power away to whatever had happened to them or whatever challenge they're going through. And slowly your motivation and your energy and your inspiration and your own belief in their ability to overcome whatever it was starts to diminish. Now, our pets never lose their belief in us. They never lose the vision of who we truly are. But especially at the end stage of life, when they've got their own troubles and their body just isn't the safe, comfy home that they have always known it to be thus far in this incarnation, they can't always show up for us in the same way that we have come to rely on them to do over the years. And I have heard from pet parents saying, he's retreating from me. She doesn't want to sit with me. She seems to be avoiding my company. That's because there isn't enough energy to do both. Maintain a body system with a failing battery and be there consistently to support somebody who needs support. So sometimes we have to go inward with self-care. And a pet that is retreating, who doesn't have high sensitivity, anxiety, trauma, any of those other issues, or any kind of discernible health issue where we can really pin it on, chances are good it's our energy. So taking the time to explore what's next, what might be on the horizon for us. This trip was fabulous. Enjoyed the heck out of it. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. What about you? And if the answer is yes, far from feeling like you're kicking them to the curb, you're setting them aside for a newer model. Those are how we tend to interact with our electronic gadgets, sometimes even with our human partners. But I have yet to run across a pet parent, at least the kind of person who would hire somebody like me to facilitate an animal communication conversation with a beloved animal. I have yet to find a single pet parent who's ever felt that way about their animal. I don't care how old or decrepit you are, I want you around forever. So we don't have to worry about the animal that we love perceiving our curiosity as a desire for a newer model. Anything but. And especially when we factor in that if you are on the pet reincarnation journey, if you are pet reincarnation curious, if you are actually listening to episodes of a podcast about pet reincarnation, your pet is taking all the credit for that. Mark my words. They are patting themselves on the back. They are so proud of themselves. They inserted the idea into your mind and heart and gave you the inspiration and enough love to have the courage to reach out, to pursue that, to learn everything you can, to talk with them about it, to plan for it, to walk through the joyful reunion process. They're giving themselves 5 stars every step of the way. And you're making their journey so much lighter in the process so that when it is their time to pass, or if they are in spirit and they're recalibrating and preparing to return to you, the energy around it all is already lighter. It's already feeling more healed. It's already feeling more congruent and harmonious. And that smooths the path for everything else. So that feels like a good stopping point for us today. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Pet Reincarnation Frequently Asked Fears and Questions. And I look forward to welcoming you back. We will continue this conversation. Please drop a note in the comment section. Let me know what landed, where you still have questions, where you'd like to go in the conversation next. If you have a moment to give a thumbs up or to leave a positive review, that is so encouraging for me and so inspiring as I continue to shape episodes for you. If you're new to Let's Talk to Animals, I endeavor to drop these episodes every 2 weeks. If you sign up for my free weekly love letter, you will be the first to get notified. And please also do follow the show on your favorite streaming platform. And just know how honored I am to be sharing the journey with you and your pets. And I send you all my love. Bye for now. I have so enjoyed sharing this episode with you. If you're new to the Let's Talk to Animals community and you've enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a review on your favorite streaming service or drop a comment wherever you like to listen. I love to hear from you, and your feedback truly helps me shape future episodes based on your interests and needs. If you're not already in my weekly love letters community, head over to animallovelanguages.com to opt in. Your welcome email will include $25 off your first pet session with me, and you'll be the first to know when a new podcast episode drops. If you're interested in learning more about the work I do communicating with animals, offering pet Reiki, and teaching animal communication, please visit me at animallovelanguages.com. Click on Schedule for Pet Sessions and Programs for all the information about my new Animal Communication Adventure to Mastery student program and the live animal communication practice circle I run for student practitioners. And I look forward to welcoming you back here very soon for a fresh new episode of Let's Talk to Animals. Okay, all my love. Bye for now.